All right, everyone. William Quigley joins us every single Thursday. We get his insight, his intellect on what's going on with markets, geopolitics, and just how he sees things. This is your time to ask him questions. He's one of our local billionaires who shares none of his money with anyone. He likes everything on sale, and whatever he is drinking right now is probably being endorsed by somebody, so he gets it for free. So, William, it's great to have you here. I need to start with a very simple question. How is it happening? Was it a big deal? Did everybody just go crazy and it turned into $20,000? Is Bitcoin now double its price?
Bitcoin is exactly where I told you it would wind up,
Yeah.
somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000.
Yeah, but it does suggest the idea is this. What is the mining cost? Because we saw before the happening it was below 5,000. That's what we figured the cost was for a miner to mine it.
Yep.
Well, it's below 10,000. Should we be at that magical number now?
Yeah, the cost to mine is somewhere between 9,000 and probably 11,000, depending on your mining gear. So I said I thought it should wind up being somewhere between, 9,000, 10,000, maybe a little higher. So it's right in line with where it should be.
It's so interesting when we see television imitate reality now, because if you watch Billions, I'm not sure if you watched it, the new season, Bitcoin is the entire talk amongst all the billionaires in the TV show Billions.
Yeah, so I've heard.
It took 5 seasons to get there, but that's interesting. Hey, William, before we start to get into questions from everyone here, take us for a journey. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things I wanted to talk about. So why don't you give me
You want some power, William?
Share the screen.
You want some power, buddy? You got the power. Ready?
Yep. Oh, I'm the co-host now.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So give me a second here.
By the way, do you have like a Steve Jobs catalog you own, order your clothes from?
I should. I definitely should, but I don't.
Okay.
All right, hold on a second here. You let me know if you can see this or not. Hopefully you can. I don't know if you can or you can't. Hopefully you can.
Oh, we got you. All right, Big Billy.
You see me? Okay. So, hey, I was going to talk about a few things today, opening it up with something that, frankly, I just got done doing. Which was working on getting a big brand into the blockchain. And I want to make sure you guys have seen this brand before. Everybody know, hopefully you do, Ken, Topps, right? They're the guys who invented the baseball card. So we did a little deal with Topps where we said, what would happen if we tried to put Topps things on the blockchain? So you'll have to let me know if you can see this, Ken. You tell me if you can. Can you see an image there?
Yep.
Yeah, good. So does everybody know Cabbage Patch?
No, they were called Wacky Packs.
What's that?
These were Wacky Packs, not Cabbage.
Yeah.
Wacky Packs.
Wacky Packs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting thing. There are a lot of people out there who still collect this stuff, like, several million people. So Topps said, we'd like to do something digital, but if we do it digital, we want to make sure it can't be copied and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, the perfect solution for that is the blockchain, because once it's on the blockchain, it can never be copied. So you absolutely know that it's genuine. And so we did this deal with them where we took about 100,000 cards and basically digitized them. Now we stylized them because now we have digital capabilities, but nonetheless, they were from old packs and we said, let's digitize them. Most of them anyway, not the first one. Some of you will know that is, Ken, what is that?
I don't know what that is.
Tiger King.
Oh, wow. Okay, Tiger King.
Tiger King. So we went and took these little packs, put them on the blockchain, and some of them had animation, some of them didn't. 110,000 cards sold out in 24 hours, a little more, I think, maybe 28 hours. What was even more impressive was these things were all going for like $10, right? What was more impressive was within a couple of hours after they were brought to the blockchain, they started going for thousands of dollars. Now, this one here went for 80,000 wax, so that's about 2,000 USD. Within a few hours of these packs being put on the blockchain, something I love about blockchain people threw up websites and started selling the packs that they had bought. This one here, Geeky Gary, went for 60,000 wax, so call it $1,800. I mean, almost instantly. And oh yeah, there you go. As I said, in about 28 hours, 110,000 of these things sold out. Then what was amazing is within a couple of days, the secondary market took off. And now there's about, that was through the 19th. So what is that? 1,000,004 wax of just people trading these cards. And the thing to remember is before you had to take the physical card, of course, put it up on a site like eBay, take it, if it gets sold, put it in the mail and mail it. It takes a while for that process to work out. What we didn't know is whether the Topps collectors, the people who were collecting these old things would say, oh, is digital real? I really want the physical thing. In fact, they almost immediately got the fact that if it's on the blockchain, it's genuine and it can never be duplicated. So to me, this was a fabulous experiment of taking kind of a brand that's, you know, done stuff over many, many decades and try to take that and see if you can put it into a new medium and see what happens. So I think Topps was very happy with the results, mainly because the people who trade and buy their stuff seem to want a lot more stuff on the blockchain. So if somebody says to you, yeah, but what can you use a blockchain for? Now you have at least one answer. You can put digital trading cards up there. So that's Topps. Let me jump to something here. Let's see what I wanted to talk about. Oh, you know, I thought this was interesting, Ken. I don't know if you can see it very well, but this is, I'll see if I can blow that up a bit. Give me a second. I probably can't. Let me see.
What are you using, by the way, to do what you're doing? What's the platform?
It is called OBS.
OBS.
So hopefully that's a little easier for you guys to see. This is the best 10 companies stock performance-wise from 2010 to 2020. And I saw it, it popped up a couple of days ago and I thought, oh, you know what? That's kind of interesting. Let me look at this. Now, what you'll see at the bottom here, by the way, is the S&P 500 returned about 250%. What I found interesting about this was I would have thought this thing would have been dominated by tech companies, right? Now you got Broadcom, if you remember them, they're a semiconductor chip company. And Dexcom, I forget what they do. But everything else here, you got Netflix, which makes sense. By the way, I didn't know it was the #1 performing stock for 2010 to 2020. Domino's Pizza also very much surprised me because I think Domino's has been around a lot. Fair Isaac, if you guys, that's #9. If you guys know them, they're the guys who do the scoring of your credit. So that kind of made sense. But United Rentals, and the reason this struck with me was I thought, wow, very few financial services companies, only a couple of tech companies. It shows that it is very hard to figure out which companies are going to do phenomenally well over the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I would not have picked a pizza company to be #2.
No, but if you probably went to 2000, 2010, it would be something like Priceline.
It might be because you're right, because they were knocked down so much
They were
after
almost
the
listed at a
internet bubble.
dollar, and then they went
Uh,
up to, you know,
uh,
15.
yeah, you never know, right? But it does show what a fool's errand it is to try to figure out which companies are going to be doing great in the future. Let me see what I have here. This struck me reading it today about New York, simply because I think of New York as kind of the caboose. They're the last group within the US that's going to actually try to open their economy. But it's making me think, and we've talked a lot about this here, what's the shape of the recovery going to be? Is it going to be rapid? Is it going to be really bumpy? Is it going to go up and then back down and up, what they call a W? I'm beginning to feel like the consensus may be right. The consensus says it's going to be a V-shaped recovery, meaning we went way down, and then come July, August, we're going to start going way up. And part of that is because New York City is saying, all right, we're going to get back. By the way, I heard Gavin Newsom say last week that 75% of California companies are now open.
What?
And that to me was surprising, 75%. Now, I didn't audit his numbers, but I assume he's the governor. He's probably telling the truth. So it shows the economy is coming back. And speaking of that, remember negative oil prices?
Yeah.
$35 today, just a hair below 35 bucks. West Texas Intermediate is up 80% in this month. I mean, oil is obviously one of the key indicators of, is the economy coming back? So this is a very good sign for anyone who's hoping the economy is going to come back. This one's about Bitcoin. So a little inside baseball, but I thought it was kind of worthwhile mentioning. First, by the way, never follow Bitcoin news if it's on MarketWatch. So Bitcoin dropped about $1,000 yesterday or so. And the reason given was that, Satoshi Nakamoto, the supposed founder of Bitcoin, released some coins that have been sitting in a wallet since 2 months after Bitcoin was created. And people said, oh my God, Satoshi isn't dead and he's going to dump all of his tokens and the price is going to collapse. I'm pretty sure that wallet belonged to somebody other than Satoshi. And more importantly, the reason Bitcoin dropped was because of the derivatives market, where a bunch of guys were exposed and they got washed out. And that's why you wouldn't necessarily take your Bitcoin news from MarketWatch.
This is important, William. The reason why you say MarketWatch or anything that takes press releases is it can be manipulated. It's as if it's submitted and it's just published.
Yeah, that's part of it. And the other is, I don't really think the MarketWatch journalist, who's probably covering stocks and oil, commodities, knows anything about Bitcoin, right? But it was a big deal nonetheless. So what was kind of interesting was the 50 Bitcoin that had been mined in February 2009, so 2 months after Bitcoin was created. And most people believe that all the Bitcoin being mined at that point was being mined by the founder. But I think that's not really true. I think it was being mined by a few more people. So, but more important point is, the reason the price dropped was because of the derivatives market. And the derivatives market you're going to start to see is more and more important to the price of Bitcoin. So we've had some great conversations, I think, Ken, about what's going to be the result of the shutdown. Mm-hmm. And one is, are people going to work from home, continue to work from home? Yeah, it's starting to seem like that, right? So what I've found and I've run a lot of businesses, when you give people an opportunity to work from home, probably 9 out of 10 will. Personally, I don't like working from home, but most people do. So, by the way, if Facebook says you can work from home, then home can be in Idaho, right? Home doesn't have to be in the Bay Area. So this might actually help alleviate some of the housing problems in the Bay Area. It also might cause, all those super high wages that you have to pay people in the Bay Area to go down a little, because these tech companies can hire people no longer in the Bay Area. And I do think this will be a lasting effect of that. Maybe I think this is where.
By the way, do you remember? Let's go back to when Marissa Mayer was running Yahoo.
Yep.
She was running Yahoo, and she allowed people to be more remote. And they found a spike within the first 3 months of people working remote, where work was effective and efficient. And then they saw it just drop dramatically after 3 months.
Yeah, but that was before Marissa, because Marissa told everybody you're going to be fired if you don't come back.
Yes,
right?
That's right. It was Jerry Yang then. It was Jerry.
Yeah,
Yang.
yeah. Terrible.
No, it was from Barbara. I forget her name, but she's the one. That's right. So the problem was people working from home eventually could not focus properly. We're in a lockdown situation. Most distractions are taken away. So the beach, as of 2 weeks ago, wasn't available. Restaurants are not available. So when you work at home, what is taking your time away? Nothing.
Well, kids, if you have kids, that's a pain. I'll tell you this. And I think I've talked about this before, I hated the idea of people working from home. I just figured it wouldn't work. And the reason I felt that way was because of biases built up over 25 years based on a reality that had changed. That reality that had changed was there are now tools you can use to work from home that didn't exist, like Slack, right?
Yeah.
Like Zoom. Ways to manage Basecamp and Jira, ways to do project management. And so after about a 6-month experiment at my company, I said, wow, our productivity is actually higher, and we can hire people from anywhere in the world, which is really, really enticing. So we'll never go back to having a centralized office. I'm sure of that. And I think it's, the last place I thought you could do it was going to be product. I thought product people had to be together in order to collaborate. No, for us, product you can do as well. So this is going to be a big deal, but the only thing that I think could change would be people realize that working from home is kind of boring, and it'd be kind of nice to not be in your home like 24/7, but we'll see if that's what happens. And then lastly, we talked a little bit about this before, which is, hey, if you can sell debt and everybody's willing to buy your debt, well, keep lowering the interest rate. The UK and the US have been the two biggest the biggest countries in the world that have held out into now never selling negative yielding debt. And the UK now is selling negative yielding debt. So this is looking more and more like a thing. And I look at it as, well, if you're making zero or less than zero in the debt you're buying from the government, you're probably going to start looking for alternative assets. One of those might just be cryptocurrency, which is of course where I am. So Ken, that's it.
Okay, can I just real quick? You and I talked about this on Thursday, actually, right after your last show. And we looked at different industries, and we looked at different stocks. And because we had Taryn on last week, which was a lot of fun, and a lot of people went off and bought cats. But
Right.
my question is, if you look at cats, I think it's a $100 stock. We know it was $3, went up to 30. Some people got in early, got out. They made 3 or 4x return. If Bitcoin goes to 20K, that's amazing. It's incredible, actually. That's a 2x return. But if you look at a Norwegian cruise line, which is down by 3x, for it to go up is, I think, more probable than Bitcoin going up 2x. Or Southwest Airlines when things clear up, or Hilton. don't you?
Maybe at some point, Ken, we'll do a show where we'll just walk through like 20 stocks, right? Which is a lot of what we do, my team does during the week. We just go through stocks that we like. And as I keep saying, the stocks I like the best are the ones that were beaten down the most. It's easier to bring those up to average than it is to take a stock that's already had a really nice pump and
Yeah.
try to double it.
And it's interesting, the ones that are doing killer right now are the FANG stocks. Facebook is doing, matter of fact, Facebook hit an all-time high. Amazon's doing well. Google's doing well. Netflix, they're all riding out. If you guys think it's a good time to get in, you're wrong. Those are hitting up here.
Absolutely.
You want to look at the energy stocks, the finance stocks,
casinos,
transportation. Those are interesting right now.
Yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, what we do is we look at categories that have been abused, and then we say where they're trading at like, down more than a third from their median price earnings ratio. And then we say, okay, what are the absolute best stocks in those negatively affected groups? And you try to pick the best of the stinkers. That's always been a good strategy for me.
Yeah, it has been.
Unless you believe people aren't going to do stuff. And a couple of months ago, everybody, not even probably, we talked about this. Oh, will anyone ever take a cruise ship again? And as we've talked, they're already selling out for cruises that'll take place a year from now. So everybody's going to be taking cruises. The cruise industry is going to fully recover. It's not going to be a problem. The industry that I'm most worried about, because they're so poorly run, is airlines. And I think the airlines are going to, people will wind up flying again. There's no question, but the airlines have removed massive amount of capacity. It is going to suck flying for the next couple of years.
So I had the chance to talk to the former CEO of Frontier. He's a friend of ours, Jeff Potter, and I talked to a few other people in the airline industry. The reason why they love Southwest Air, which is LUV, is because the bigger airlines are going to cut out those smaller markets because they want to focus on where they can actually move cargo to and passengers to. Those smaller markets, they're going to cut from their routes. Southwest keeps those. Southwest benefits off those smaller markets. Southwest has one type of plane, which means parts and pilots are easy to work within. So Southwest really is probably the best run out of all the airlines in the States right now as a stock.
Yeah, it remains that. It always has been. I agree. We're
that. All right, let's get in some questions, everyone. Let's go over to Nar. Let's see. I'm just going to unmute you guys. You go for it. Nar, you got William Quigley. What do you want to do with him?
Hi, William. My question is about Visa filing for a patent for a digital currency. Just your thoughts on that.
Well, the biggest companies in the world are the biggest patent filers these days for cryptocurrencies. It bugs me a little because these were the same assholes who for the last 10 years have refused to allow small businesses to use Bitcoin or even to give Bitcoin processing to established companies. So all these financial institutions have said it's a bad thing, we can't use it, which I always thought was nothing more than an attempt for them to catch up because they were behind the ball. I think there's maybe 25,000 blockchain patents already filed. The largest country for patent filers for blockchain is China. They're just filing a crazy amount of blockchain patents. And by the way, one of my regrets, and I'm sure Brock's too, is that we didn't file a patent on the stablecoin, which is that's like Libra coin. It's just a crypto backed by a currency.
I'm kind of surprised when you did Tether. which does what, $4 trillion a year in exchanges. You never filed a patent?
Yeah, I can't explain why we didn't. I'll blame the CEO. I wasn't the CEO, but it certainly seemed like we should have done that. Now, I've made up for that by filing lots of patents. I didn't want to, because the ethos of the crypto community was that it was open source software. So everybody works on it, you throw it into a pot. But then you had big companies starting to file patents. And the way patents work is you need your own patents, like a baseball bat, to fight off them if they've got patents. And the most cynical group I can think of in this area was JP Morgan. Because Jamie Dimon, as you might remember, Ken, said in 2017, he said, anyone in my bank, Jamie Dimon's the CEO of JP Morgan. He said, if anyone in my bank does anything with Bitcoin, they'll be fired. And Bitcoin is like used by criminals. Now, last year, JP Morgan filed 2 patents around cryptocurrencies. So, he's changed his stripes. In fact, they're now offering banking services to crypto companies. And Jamie Dimon says, well, I feel bad for saying that. But here's how I look at it from my cynical eyes. All of these bankers wanted to cock block cryptocurrencies because it's not really known, or people don't talk about this, but one of the largest profit-making exercises on planet Earth is converting currencies. There's about $1 trillion in profit made by converting currencies. And who gets to convert currencies? Whoever the governments say are allowed. It's always regulated. So the banks make a ton converting currencies. And so when you use Bitcoin, of course, you don't need to convert the currency because you just hold it in a wallet and it bypasses the banking system. So I think what happened was guys like Jamie Dimon and the rest of the banking industry said, we have to figure out how to do this stuff. Took them 10 years and get some patents, and then we'll embrace it. And that's probably going to start happening. And Visa is just one of many. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Western Union, Tencent, Alibaba with Alipay. All the payment guys are patenting crypto stuff.
Yeah. Do me a favor, Wayne, can you take it off your presentation mode?
Oh, sure.
There's a pretty big latency with what you're saying.
Sure.
It looks like a dubbed movie, just to let you know.
Okay, sure.
Let's go to Mark Goldstein. Let's see, Mark. Let me unmute you, my friend. Where is Mark? Alphabetical order, Ken. There we go. Hey, Mark, what's your question to William Quigley?
I just had a question. I've been doing some calls to CEOs, and it looks like this is kind of like hit refresh, that the economy, this could be a convenient way of unloading a lot of workers that probably weren't up to speed. I don't know what'll become of them, and then what'll happen is people who are tech savvy or interested will come back. But do you get any sense of that? It's
absolutely. Almost like. Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. I think anytime you have an excuse to lay people off, if you're a big company, you do, because 10, 20% of your workforce is probably redundant or not productive. So I think there's no doubt that of the 40 million or so who have been laid off, no way are 40 million getting rehired.
No, not at all. The numbers are about as little as 30% might get their jobs back. As little as 30%.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I think that's very, very pessimistic personally. Yeah. But I can see 30% not getting their jobs back.
Yeah, you can inverse it, but this does say something. Right now, that purge to companies even like Google, they were happy to have that opportunity. Because
absolutely, the hardest time, and anyone on this program who's had employees, we all know when you're making good money, it's difficult emotionally to fire people. not obviously you have bad people, you get rid of them, but the people who are not bad, they're just like average or not that great, or maybe you have more people than you need. It's very difficult to get the motivation to fire those people. This has been the best thing ever for these companies. One reason these companies have bounced back so much, they've gotten rid of so many people. And just like in 2009, it took 7 years to get a lot of those people back. I think the same will happen.
Great question. Let's go to, by the way, guys, you had a question, comment, or something? Please put it inside the chat and I will unmute you. David Goldsmith. David, and turn on your cameras too, guys. I'm not gonna call on you if your cameras are off, so turn on your cameras. Let me go over to Adam. Go for it, Adam. Adam, are you guys
I actually wasn't asking a question.
just making a statement? Okay, goodbye. That's easy.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm just looking at here. How about airlines last week? Let's see. Here, let's go to Jeffrey Glover. Jeffrey, I'm doing this as best as I can, by the way, William. All right, Jeffrey, your statement.
Hi guys. I just heard some word that, excuse me, let me close this door, William, what do you think about using the blockchain in our national elections?
I mean, I think that'd be really a great use case. Remember, the blockchain has these traits. One of them is immutability, meaning once it's done, once a record's been created, it can't be uncreated. It'll always be there. That sounds really good to me. Transparency, so everybody can see every single thing on the blockchain. Transparency of the source code, so that, you know, it can't be manipulated. Everyone can see if the source code has a problem. I think voting, and then there's identity. That's why I've always said, of the 4 or 5 things that are perfect use for a blockchain, one of those being identity. Ultimately, I would like all of us to have all of our identity credentials in the blockchain, and never ever give them to anyone again. If a website needs your credentials, you can invite them to see them on the blockchain, but they're stored there, not on the websites where they get hacked and our identities get stolen. So I think you have identity perfected on a blockchain. You could do voting. You know, once you have your identity, it's very easy to do voting, right?
Well, I mean, we need some solutions to get into sort of a digital democracy, you know, some way to allow people's concerns of fraud in voting, for instance, which of course is a very minor concern, really, from what I know from the stats so far, but at the same time is a concern. And then here we would just have those people who wanted to go on the chain could do so.
Yeah, and obviously in a close election, you know, a little bit of fraud could be all that matters. So I love the idea of it. You know, remember, what makes the blockchain so incredible is it's this open source concept where all of the code can be inspected. And so I think the trust factor of putting it there versus some IBM creates some machines, you know, and you're like, you know, but we have, you know, patents around it, that I don't trust. I think it would be great. I don't have a great deal of faith that it'll happen anytime soon, but it's the perfect thing.
Not at all. Let's
go.
go.
Blockchain.
AJ, let's go bring up Mr. St. Motel up. First, AJ, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I always love these talks. So many questions. One real quick, I just wanted to wonder, like Tether's price on Coinbase says it went on September 17th to 0. Is that an anomaly? What was that?
Yeah.
Or is that just?
Yeah, that's, yeah, every once in a while you have weird reporting issues, but yeah.
Okay.
US dollar is still trading close to a dollar. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a buck.
Okay. And then with the trading cards you're talking about, and this is maybe a general skins question, but so are those traded and stored like coins? Like how does that work exactly?
Yeah, think of them as, they're called NFTs, non-fungible tokens, but they're like a Bitcoin. They just have an image embedded in them. So they're on the blockchain. And one of the things the collectors said, I heard this from Topps, was, we've never liked this digital stuff because, we don't know how many of these things your guys are going to make. And again, they can be copied. Once they understood how the blockchain worked, they were like, wow, now we know that Topps isn't sort of printing an extra 50% and not telling us. Because, if you're in the video game space, I happen to be, a video game says limited edition virtual item. They don't give you like a ledger showing you all of those limited edition items. And I suspect a lot of video game companies wind up printing as many as they can sell. So what I liked is it so rapidly, the collectors went, oh, I can go to the blockchain. I can see there's only like 20 of this kind. And, again, that's the value of a blockchain.
You're able to validate, which we can. We said you could validate it. AJ, I want to kind of bleed into a question that will be part of a question. And that is, if Topps prove that people want these cards, but they don't need to have them in their hands, and they do want to exchange it, I know that when I get something, I wish I didn't get it at a specific time. Let me just give you an example. If I'm on a diet and somebody sends me a box of cookies, I go, damn it. I wish they would have given me like a certificate to say I have these box of cookies and I could get them anytime I want. Mm-hmm. Or I could almost re-gift this box of cookies to somebody else. But knowing that I have the box of cookies that were given to me in a digital form would make more sense to me, because now I'm in control of accepting it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In fact, the packs, and I assume a lot of guys here collected baseball cards, the pack. The digital packs, when you buy them from the Wax blockchain, are unopened. And remember, when you open them, you might have a $2,000 card in them, right? Because it's randomly produced, which packs had the best cards. So people are trading the packs almost like money equivalent, right? It's like, it's this unopened ticket. And when you open it, you get 5 cards. One of them might be something great, just like baseball card packs.
Well, couldn't I do the same thing with real items? Like, and AJ, I'm going to lead to you. I have an idea. That's why I want to hit it with you. So let's just say it's Mother's Day and I send my mother flowers, and my mom, damn it, was not at home. She was in Florida, and those flowers are going to sit and wilt at her front door. Where I could send her digital flowers, and then she could say, you know what? I want to take delivery of these flowers that my son sent me, but to Florida. So is there a way to digitize real world elements and move them around? Does that exist?
That's one of the categories of patents I filed on that concept, what you're talking about there. I think it's a great use case to create a digital twin of physical items to enable the digital version to be traded back and forth. And maybe the original item is either waiting to be shipped with the final user. If you look at something like Supreme, I don't know how many guys are familiar with that brand, but it's an apparel brand that's just collector inspired. So they drop at Thursday at 11 a.m. every other week or whatever. They'll drop like 100,000 t-shirts, 100,000 pants, whatever it is. And they usually sell all of them in less than 10 seconds. All right. They're bots that just buy them all. And then immediately they go to secondary markets and they're traded. But what you're buying is like a box. And so the guy who originally got it but didn't want it gets it mailed to him. Then he has to sell it and mail it to the next guy who wanted the real item. It'd be much better if they just gave the first buyer a digital token that could be redeemed for the real thing at some point in the future.
And that's where it goes with AJ. AJ is launching their new album they're working on. Is there a way as an artist, especially at the level they're at, I mean, they're at almost the top level, to create a song, and every one of them has a unique something about it, to where now the MP3 file, whatever we're going to call it, with the DRM wrapped around it, can have its own uniqueness for trading. Can artists now think differently, as opposed to saying, hey, music's useless? Now they can create unique music that can be exchanged.
Yeah. Now, music is a weird one in a way because music does not have scarcity, right? You can make a billion copies. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't diminish because more people have it. So if for tickets, selling tickets to live performances, which there's a scarce amount of space, that would be more probably like spot on for this kind of thing than just selling a digital file.
Well, then that goes now to Pablos, who's on here. Pablos is doing real-time printing. So if Pablos makes something for Saint Motel, being AJ, that has a signia on it, like a number, like this is of 200 t-shirts, this is 200, or this is 199, this is one. So there is a limit supply of Saint Motel t-shirts that Pablos is printing.
Yeah.
All this be placed in the blockchain, complementing both Pablos' business and AJ's as an artist.
Yeah, because what you want to do is make it so that guys like AJ can participate in the secondary market. Right now, they lose it all to StockX or whoever the
I should have mentioned that. One of the things I said to Tops was, I'll design the smart contract on the blockchain so that it extracts a 10% secondary market commission upon each sale. They love that because you're right. I think most brands get too concerned about not getting a piece of the secondary market, but they do care about it. So you can design a smart contract to simply always cut what you want to call them, author rights or royalties, residuals, every time it's transferred.
So every time that those cards are transferred from here to perpetuity, they get a 10% of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, they get, there's 10% of which, I'm sure a lot of you guys in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of mouths to feed. There's the original artist who maybe did the design. There's maybe some manager, he gets a piece. But what's beautiful about a smart contract is that's just a calculation. And then what the smart contract does is it deposits into each individual's little blockchain account their commission in real time. Like not at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter with the royalty accountant, it's just literally in real time, ching, ching, ching. It gets sent to their wallet.
It's a game changer.
Oh yeah. For people who are creatives in the digital realm who, want to be able to benefit from just the active trading of what they're doing.
Well, a lot of it came from let's go back to when you took over Opskins. Opskins is trading digital skins that are unique, and they go from 50 cents all the way up to $150,000.
Yeah, and the original people who made those, the video game company, they get nothing in the secondary market. That's the key, right? They're not entitled and they get none because it's not on the blockchain. So once they create the item, whoever has it can sell it. It's just like if you have an iPhone, you pay Apple, but then you sell it on eBay, you don't cut Apple in because there's no mechanism to do that. But once it's on the blockchain, the smart contract is just a mini computer. You can program it to do anything. I really like the idea. I used to be a licensing guy at Disney. I love this idea because the license or the guy who owns the IP, the author, he always wonders, is he really being paid for everything? Or are they only giving him, royalties on 80%? Well, here you can literally see every transaction on the blockchain. So that you got properly compensated. It's a really nice feature of, blockchain contracts.
I'm afraid that Pablos is going to take his pants off or something. Let me mute him. He's been known to do that type of stuff. So William, as we move forward and look at this whole blockchain idea, how hard is it for somebody to incorporate it into what they're doing?
It's super easy. Yeah, it's easy. I mean, I dare say, if you know how to turn on a computer and you know what a browser is, you can trade stuff and make stuff and deposit stuff on a blockchain. It's that easy now.
Wow. And
Yeah.
we're not talking about just for money, but for trackability. So I could do DocuSign should make blockchain DocuSign docs then, right?
You know, yeah, at this point they should. Because at the end of the day, you just trust the collective blockchain better than some individual company's stuff. This is why I think in the end, all of us should have our identity on a blockchain, and that is the only place it should exist. And you have permission, which you give to a site where they can check your credentials, passport, whatever it is. It's always going there. I'm sure a lot of you know this, but I mean, the reason we have all this identity theft is because all these websites demand your personal information, and then these assholes don't protect it. And then they get hacked every single day with all the information you had to give them in order to use the site. And that just shouldn't be the way it is. There should be an API into a blockchain and then you can cut them off. You can give them one-time use. And then think about it this way. You can start to charge them for it. They're like, hey, we'd love to interact with you, advertise to you. That's great. 10 cents and I'll hear the pitch.
Let's go to a new metal member, and that's Stephen, who's in Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Stephen. What's your question?
I was just wondering if you could use an actual product in a blockchain. Like if you were selling an actual physical product.
What about it?
Can you put that into a blockchain?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's probably not exactly that, but yeah, what I do is I take the physical item and then I put it in custody somewhere. I create a digital twin of that item, and the digital twin is mapped to the physical item and can be redeemed with that token anytime, but you might just want to trade it. Like, obviously we did this with stock certificates. There was a point where you would mail your stock certificate, probably before any of us were born, and you do a trade that way. And then eventually, people said, well, what if we just put all the stock certificates in a safe and we just put an electronic record of how many you had, and you just transfer the electronic record. You can get the stock certificate, the physical thing, but that doesn't help you much because then you can't trade that through, the internet. So I think all objects that have any secondary market value will have digital twins in a blockchain. And that will note like custody and ownership.
Like I have a certificate that I have a proof set I get every year. Instead of taking the actual proof set and having it in my home, I have it, the US Mint stores it for me, but they give me a certificate. So theoretically, that's like their guarantee that that proof set exists.
Yeah, my camera went off. Hold on. That's right. And what you would prefer, Ken, would be a digital version of that.
Absolutely, because I lose that certificate, I'm screwed.
So what we're talking about here in a way is like, yeah, duh. Everything, every possession you have, every asset that has any value in a secondary market, it should have a digital twin attached to it so that is what you can trade. And that's what blockchain allows.
That's why it was interesting. We talked about flowers. You said you have the patent. God, if somebody sent me a digital thing of flowers, do I really want the frickin' flowers? No, but I have a digital copy of those flowers, knowing that when I execute that token for the flowers, I get them sent to me, or I could re-gift them, say, to my mother. So
right.
Now I can move that one purchase to another person because I have validation that I own those.
Right, and the last piece of that to remember is this. If I give you a little flower emoji and you don't know me, and I say, Ken, give me $50 for that, it's redeemable for the real thing. You're going to say, but how do I know it is? How do I know it's not a copy, right? That's the problem with things when they're not on the blockchain. If it's on the blockchain, it's genuine. And if it's not, you basically then have to just trust the guy who gave it to you. So you're back to limiting and restricting how many people you can trade with, or you have to trade through an intermediary who you trust.
What defines validation? So a bank is insured, of course, as it says FDIC. It shows validation that it has that accreditation to something. What gives something accreditation or validation that it's on the blockchain?
Well, all I'm saying is, you know that that token is an actual blockchain token because it can only exist in the blockchain, right? So when I send you a Bitcoin, why is it that you could send me a Bitcoin right now and I would instantly be willing to pay you for it? Do I have to go to some assay office and, decide if it's real gold or, look at the $100 bill? No, I know it self-identifies as real and authentic because it's in the blockchain.
Let's finish with AJ. AJ, go ahead. Why don't you add, then we have two more questions.
Well, this all sounds so exciting. Just remember you mentioned though last week or a week before, there was an Ethereum smart contract thing in a very small print of the contract that ended up costing people millions, right? I don't remember exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
Is that an Ethereum thing or a smart contract thing? Is there a whole world of dangers?
Right. So think of Ethereum, that's the internet, and the Ethereum smart contract that was, it did exactly what it was supposed to do, but that's the problem with software. Sometimes it does what you wanted it does what it's allowed to do, but it isn't what you wanted it to do, right? So that was a problem with the programmers. They programmed the smart contract to do something. Now, they didn't know they programmed it to do something. You had to work a bit, but it did something that cost them $5 million because somebody said, oh, I want all the money in that smart contract. And they sang the right tune and the contract gave it to them.
So you'll have to be really, really savvy on the other end of that if you get a contract, you'll have to, you're going to have to kind of trust the person on the other end of that smart contract then?
Yeah, but so if there were lawyers on this call, they would say, is there any such thing as a perfect contract? When you sign a contract and your lawyer says this is bulletproof, is it really? Who knows, right? A smart enough guy's going to find a hole. So smart contracts designed in software are no different. You hope maybe after several years of using it that there aren't any little holes in there, but it is always a concern, right? But by the way, one of the things that is useful here is the code itself is seen by everybody. And it turns out most people are decent. So when they find a problem, a vulnerability in the smart contract, they'll go tell the guy running the GitHub repository, hey, you need to patch that. And that's what happened to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin wasn't perfect when it launched. It had a number of patches. Now it seems pretty good. And as you can imagine, the more money that is backing it, the more people want to take a look to make sure it's not got any flaws. So my view of this is the following. The older the smart contract, the more faith I have in it, That
makes sense.
But a brand new smart contract, buyer beware.
AJ, you feel good? Do you feel satisfied?
Yeah, always.
Did he leave you with more, or are you feeling good? You feeling satisfied?
I feel like it's always I want more, but it's till next week.
That's what he does. Give him a good Yelp review. He needs those. Let's go to Gary. Gary, you have a question? And I like your question, Gary, regarding quantum. Go for it.
Yeah, William, I guess Pablo's exited. He would have been good to respond to this. With quantum computing becoming more and more common as time goes on, will that expose vulnerabilities in the blockchain, or will blockchain harness that technology and keep up and keep it?
Here's what I would say. On the one hand, it looks like if you had a working quantum computer, Bitcoin and all blockchain based items that have SHA-256 encryption can be instantly broken, so it all becomes worthless. That's on the one hand. Now, to be fair though, so do all passwords, alphanumeric passwords of all banking and all, you know, your electronic files, all alphanumeric passwords become obsolete. So I assume we will manage around it. There's a lot of people who are working on what they call quantum resistant blockchains. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I don't even know if quantum computers will be available for the bad guys in my lifetime, right? So I know Google's announced a lot of great stuff, but I guess I choose, it's like a meteor risk hitting the earth. I choose to think that somebody smarter than me is going to figure that out. But yeah, on its face, of course, if you have an alphanumeric based encryption, quantum computing, when it's matured, will break it.
I like that. There you go. I don't know who Z, I think, is it just Z, or are we looking, I'm looking at this person's name, J. I'm going to go to J. Is it just JZ? Help me out here.
I unmuted myself too. It's John Zerden. How are you?
Great. Can you turn your camera on, please?
Yeah, I'm on my iPad. Hang on. Sorry about that.
All right. There you go.
Yeah, so it's just it's sort of fascinating. I haven't really kept up in the crypto world at all, but trying to sell my car, right? So I was going to sell it to Carvana when my car came in. It took a while for the dealership to deliver it, whatever. Carvana stopped taking cars except for direct trade. So just been sitting in my driveway for 2 months, right? So I'm like, how am I going to actually sell it and actually collect the cash for it? And thinking, you know, what happens with bad checks and all that kind of stuff. And so thinking Bitcoin may be the right solution for that.
Yeah, I mean, my first use of Bitcoin on a commercial scale was for that exact problem, which it's like most of the world seems oblivious to this, especially Americans. But, you know, when somebody pays you for something, unless it's cash that you've somehow inspected to make sure is not counterfeit, there's always the risk that it's fake. Or if it's any kind of electronic payment, that it's from a stolen credit card and then it gets reversed. So, you know, we redlined about 40% of the world where we just wouldn't sell to because the risk of fraud was too high. And then we said, well, maybe it's time to give people a chance to use crypto, and we'll work with you if you want to use crypto. And initially, you know, it's a very small number of people, but the fact that they could buy from us was really exciting for them and for me. That and you know, eventually it got to be a nice size number. It's really wonderful when there's asymmetrical risk where they trust you, but you don't trust them. Yeah. So you're like, okay, send me your Bitcoin and then I'll send you the product. And you know, when you think about it, that's generally true of most e-commerce companies. Most of us, I think, trust Amazon's not going to steal from us. But Amazon doesn't trust that we're going to always be, you know, legitimate guys, especially if you're in countries that are known for fraud, like the Ukraine or something. So if Amazon could be guaranteed that whatever you gave it could never be reversed, Bitcoin, it would have no problem accepting anyone as a customer.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Is there any other reading that you'd recommend to like short circuit the learning on it? Because I haven't really followed up on crypto at all.
I would just say, literally, there's infinite amounts of material online. YouTube is great, but you know, by the way, I have given up trying to be current in crypto. It's impossible. But there's so much great content out there. It's marvelous. You'll easily be able to find and go as deep as you want. You probably don't care about the blockchain consensus mechanism stuff, but you know, just the uses and how to actually acquire it and hold it and secure it. And that, by the way, still remains the problem. It's something that always gets me nervous. Remember, you're the only one who has access to this. You have these passwords. And if you lose the passwords, it's gone forever. There's no recovery. And so where do you put the password? And you're like, well, I'll write it down everywhere, but then other people can get it and take your money. So that remains the conundrum with crypto.
So William, I know we went over an hour and you have to go walk all those dogs because you're still, to make ends meet, you're walking people's dogs right now, which I think is great.
Yes.
It really is. And that schnauzer that you show me on FaceTime. Hey, William, people want to find you, hunt you down. Where did they go? What's the website?
Well, wax.io is that's the Twitter handle, and also the website where we are, you know.
When
But
was the last time you tweeted?
probably me personally, probably a couple weeks ago, but the site tweets a couple of times a day.
And I noticed you have your own blog page. When was the last time you actually posted a blog post?
On web blogs?
Yeah, the Quigley report. When was the last time you actually posted something there?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I'll talk to my marketing people and say, take that down.
Good idea. Something up.
I need a haircut.
No,
A haircut. Where did you get your haircut?
Oh, a guy in the building.
All right. Hey guys, thank you so much, everyone. Have a really good night.
See you all.
Bye, everyone.